Welcome to this session of our Research Week. It's about the SAGE Research Methods database, and our presenter is Rebecca Evans, all the way from England, presenting from there. Rebecca is Library Training Manager at SAGE Publishing, covering Europe, the Middle East and Latin America. She has worked in publishing for 10 years and is committed to developing the skills of her participants and encouraging self-reflection and accountability for their own learning. In her current role, she trains the sales team to ensure they are fully supported in working with customers, and she manages the customer training function at SAGE, ensuring that training services are meeting the needs of customers and that librarians and faculty receive high-quality training and facilitation so that they can implement their SAGE products in the most effective ways possible. Sounds to me like the perfect person to talk to us about SAGE research methods, and I'm sure we're going to learn a lot from you today, Rebecca. I just want to tell participants, if you're not sure where to find SAGE research methods online, if you go to the library database, library website, you will find a link to our A to Z list of databases, and SAGE research methods will be there, and you will be able to access it from on and off campus. Okay, so please make sure that you stay muted and that your camera is switched off, and then I will hand over to Rebecca. Rebecca, just one thing. Do you prefer to take questions right at the end, or can people leave their questions in the chat box and I can ask them throughout the presentation?
Yeah, absolutely. So please do put your questions into the chat. I've prepared plenty of time for questions, and we have a couple of natural pauses throughout the session. So we'll have some time. We can see what's come in the chat during the session, and then we'll have time at the end as well for anything that we haven't answered.
Okay, sounds good. Right, over to you.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for such a wonderful introduction. Let me just start sharing my slides. Give that just one moment. So hopefully you can see my slide deck there. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you, Naomi, for the wonderful presentation and introduction. I'm really happy to be joining you today, as I said, from England, and really lovely to be part of your research week. I feel like I've set up some high expectations from my little profile, so I really hope that this session is going to be interesting for you guys, and that it offers you an understanding of this database, which I'm a bit biased because I work for SAGE, but I think it's an excellent resource for anyone who's doing research. And I really hope that by the end of the session today, you leave feeling like you have a database you can go and use to support you as you do your research. So let me just go through a bit of the agenda for today. We're going to start with a couple of discussion questions. So I'd love for you guys to use the chat box to tell me a little bit about yourselves and about your experiences with research, because we can then use that for the rest of the session as I show you the database. And maybe actually while I go through the agenda, if you'd like to use the chat box to just type in your discipline, like what's your research area, what subject areas do you work in, and that's going to be a really helpful topic for me to understand from all of you. So we've got a couple of activities planned today. I am going to get you logged onto the platform. We're going to go in through your electronic databases catalogue through the library. So we'll get you logged on, we'll get you creating a profile, and towards the end of the session, I'm going to ask you to spend about 10 to 15 minutes. We'll all put ourselves on mute. We'll all go to the database independently and ask you to try and find some resources that might help you with your current research challenges and any projects that you're working on at the moment. So I can see the first person has typed in there an information science PhD. We've got some people working in conservation, ecology and environmental anthropology, which sounds absolutely fascinating and very relevant today. Transportation engineering, fabulous. Thank you. Please do keep posting in the chat. Really helpful for me to know who's here today. So as we just take a look at that, I'm just taking a look. We've got such a variety here. We've got clinical research, we've got electrical, I guess maybe like electrical engineering, animal nutrition, psychology, development finance, viticulture, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, pharmacology, nutritional sciences. Excellent. Thank you all so much for sharing your disciplines, and please do carry on typing into the chat. So let's start with the first question then. I'd love to know what's your level of experience in using SAGE research methods. So we're going to use a scale from 1 to 5, 1 being I've not heard of SAGE research methods before until I registered for the session today, up to 5, you've used the platform regularly, you feel quite confident in how to use it. So please just type the number into the chat that feels like it best reflects your understanding. So I saw we had someone who's about a 2 and a 3, and lots of 1s, which is all good. Someone here, another 3. So we've got a good range here, but most people kind of between 1 and 3. Excellent. This is all really helpful, thank you. And it's just as we get set up, you know, helps me before we dive into the session to know a little bit about who's here. Okay, great. And a second question, you might have received hopefully a video this morning, which I kind of shared as I wanted the attendees to watch before coming to the session. So could you just type yes or no into the chat, depending on whether you watched the quick video that was shared? And if it's a no, that's absolutely fine, don't worry. I know that not many people have time to watch videos or, you know, prepare for sessions, and I know you guys have a busy week. But we've got lots of yeses, which is great. That's excellent. And I hope you all found the video helpful. You can go back and watch it another time in the future. That's no problem at all. But I think that just gives a really good overview of what SAGE research methods offers and hopefully set some good foundations for our session today. Okay, so thank you for sharing all of that information. Let me tell you, and let's start talking a little bit about SAGE research methods. So this is a library database. It's accessible via your library's electronic database catalogue, your A to Z catalogue. And like I said, we're going to take a look later at how you can access that. Essentially, what SAGE research methods contains is lots and lots of resources, but they're all dedicated to the subject area of research methods. So whether you are researching industrial engineering, conservation, sociology, psychology, nutritional sciences, no matter your subject area, you will find resources that help you to develop and design and conduct really effective research projects. And the aim of this database is really to help you guys do better research, or to do the best research that you can possibly do. So no matter which stage of the research process you're at, whether you are right at the beginning, maybe you're still thinking, what's my research question? You know, I kind of have a topic in mind, but I don't know exactly how to turn that into a research question, all the way through to working with the data that you have gathered, learning how to analyze that data, and even thinking about writing up your results into a thesis, a dissertation, or thinking about publishing your work in a journal. These are all topics that are covered within SAGE research methods. So we've really designed this database to support researchers at all levels of experience, all levels of confidence, and really no matter what type of research you're doing. So my final question for the discussion to get us started is I'd love for you to think about maybe where you're at in your research journey, the research projects that you're working on or starting to work on right now. What area of research methods are you finding most challenging? Which part of doing research or getting started with research do you find the most difficult? And again, just type that into the chat. This might be a bit of a longer question, so take your time to think about it. I've just noticed, Ms. De Beer, you didn't get the message about the video. No problem. It only came out this morning. If you haven't received it, I'm sure the librarians will be able to help you. They might be able to send that to you directly. Great, we've had a couple of answers in already. Thank you, Ulrika and Nomokushi. Sorry if I'm pronouncing your names wrong. I'm trying my best. We've had defining constructs, obtaining ethical clearance, systematic reviews, data analysis, SD. I think what you've said is so true. Every step has brought its own challenges. Yeah, I think that's very relatable. Creating proper procedures and managing information. Yeah, data management is a big topic. Absolutely. So we're here, we've got some stuff, and these are all the same kinds of topics I hear from researchers all the time when I train, is kind of data analysis. I see that one's got a thumbs up. Things like your systematic review or doing your literature review. You know, how do there's so much information out there, right, on my topic of research. How do I collate it? How do I gather it? How do I analyze it? How do I choose which literature to include and which to leave aside? All very common challenges. Someone here, summarizing the information, especially when my focus area changes. Yeah, good. And I think that's one challenge with research in general, is you have all of these stages, and when sometimes you have to go back and tweak the first bit, and that means you have to change things later on down the chain, don't you? You have all of these dependencies. Absolutely. Mr. Magamba, literature review in a world where literature is wide and there is more information, and maybe, yes, so much information. Absolutely. I think that's so true. Great. Okay. Well, thank you for sharing those challenges with me. Please do keep putting them into the chat. Very happy to keep receiving those. And this is really helpful because you've all mentioned examples of things that SAGE research methods can help with. So let's move into a bit of an explanation of SAGE research methods in a bit more detail. I'm just going to come into the participants list because I can hear a bit of background noise, and I'm just going to mute that person, if that's okay. So just to give a bit of an explanation, SAGE research methods is actually, as a database, it contains lots of different components or modules, and libraries all around the world decide which of those modules to acquire. So it's a bit like a shopping basket, you know, the library thinks about, you know, what are the needs of their researchers, what are the challenges that they hear frequently, what kind of content requests do they get, and then they make purchasing decisions based on that. It's a bit like when you go and buy a car, you can decide to buy the very basic version, or you can add on all the really fancy things like built-in Wi-Fi and air conditioning and leather seats. So you can basically add on lots of different elements. So the elements of the database that you have access to at the University of Stellenbosch or Stellenbosch University is what we call SAGE Research Methods Core, which is kind of the really foundational, fundamental elements of SAGE Research Methods as a database. So within SAGE Research Methods Core, you have access to over 1,000 books and reference items, which we class as dictionaries and encyclopedias. So really helpful if you want to get kind of basic definitions about certain concepts or steps or elements of doing a research project. You also have around 400 journal articles. Those are all journal articles talking about research methodology. So it's not going to be journal articles about your particular topic, like nutrition science or electrical engineering. It's journal articles that talk about the best practices of doing research as a researcher. So it might talk about how to do an effective literature review, or what's the difference between a systematic review and a literature review. What's the difference between qualitative analysis and quantitative analysis of data? You know, these kinds of things. We also have some videos, so around 100 videos are available to you. So if you prefer watching videos rather than reading through books, then some of the videos in Sage Research Methods are going to be really helpful for you. And we also have access to a couple of tools. The first one is one I'm going to focus on a little bit later in detail, is called the Project Planner. And it's, as it sounds, it's an excellent step-by-step guide through every single step of your research. And it's a great starting point when you want to think, okay, I'm just about to start my data analysis. Where do I begin? Or I've not done a systematic review before. How do I approach it? So we'll take a look at that in a bit of detail later on. And we have another tool available through the database called the Methods Map, which is a really interesting tool that visualizes the connections and relationships between different research methods concepts. So if you're feeling like you lack confidence, or you're a little bit confused about what a concept means or how you might use a particular skill, then the Methods Map is really excellent for helping you to build up an understanding of research methods as this kind of quite complex ecosystem, is how I like to think of it. So I'm going to come out of my slides now, and I'm going to go into a bit of a platform demonstration, because what better way of showing you what Sage Research Methods is than to actually show you the database. And we're just going to spend about 10-15 minutes here, and then I'm going to hand over to you guys to do a bit of a hands-on activity. I'm going to ask you to create a profile, and I'll explain why in just a few moments. So before we do that, let me just give you a very quick tour so that once you come to Sage Research Methods, you know what's going on. When you first arrive at Sage Research Methods, you'll come to the home page where you have this search bar. So you can run a quick search or you can run an advanced search. Now, most of the time, a quick search is probably going to be enough, but you have the advanced search if you need it. You can also scroll down and you can do some browsing. So you can browse by content type. You know, I talked about things like our books, our videos, our reference items, which are the dictionaries and the encyclopedias. And I talked to you about Project Planner as well. So those are the elements that you will see visible on this dashboard when you visit the website. And if we scroll down a little bit further, you can also browse by discipline. So if you are, for example, working in engineering, or somebody was in development finance, so maybe something like business and management could be a really good starting point for that individual, you can come in and browse by discipline. And a bit further down, we can explore some of the tools, but we'll come and have a look at that later. Now, you can explore these browsing options at the top of the website as well. So you have this little hover menu where you can jump into your discipline and your content type, as well as these topics on the left-hand side. And these topics will take you straight through to the methods map, so that kind of visual tool that I explained earlier. Now, I want to start by doing a browse using the discipline, and I'm going to take that example from somebody earlier who said they were working in electrical engineering. I think you mentioned you're doing a PhD. So what you can do is click on engineering, and essentially this runs a search on the database that's pre-filtered by discipline. So you can see here that we've added this filter. That's happened automatically whenever you browse by one of these subject areas or disciplines. Now then, on the right-hand side, you do also have these filters that you can apply manually. And there are a couple that I'll highlight to you. First of all, I would suggest highlighting the button Content Available to Me. This just makes sure that you're only seeing content that is available through Stellenbosch University's subscription. So it means you're not going to hit any paywalls or see things that you aren't able to view in full. But once you've clicked this, you're only going to see items that are available in full text. And you can also filter via different content types. So for example, if you know that you're looking for some dictionary entries, for example, you can unselect all, and then you can come into the reference and you can click dictionary, and this will filter your results so that you're only seeing the results within your discipline that are relevant to reference items. So here you can see we've got 2 dictionaries, both about kind of statistics. So that's kind of how you can use the browse option. We're going to come back now. I'm going to come back to the home page, but you can also start a search here, or you can re-browse. But let's just come back to the home page to build a bit of familiarity. I'm now going to do a search. So I'm going to use one of the topics that has come up as quite a kind of a common theme. So we're going to search for literature review, and we're going to hit enter. And again, what you might want to do when you start doing this is to make sure that you hit the content available to me so that you're only seeing available content. It makes no difference to me because I have access to everything. But you can see here we're starting to see some results. We've got a project planner entry here titled, "How does the literature review differ from doing desk research?" We've got a video here creating a literature review sketch. We've got an encyclopedia entry, the literature review. And we've got another project planner entry, what makes a successful literature review? So let's maybe open this project planner entry. And project planner is excellent. The entries are really short, they are simple, they're easy to understand, and they're really designed as kind of a starting point for you to understand a topic. So here we can see this very short overview of what makes a successful literature review. Things like thinking about your search terms, thinking about key publications that you might use, thinking about scanning and more in-depth reading, organising your literature thematically, and then writing up the review. So this is all really helpful as a starting point for us to understand reviewing the literature. I'm going to come back into my search results and I'm going to show you this video because we do have about 120 videos, I think, available through Sage Research Methods Core. And the videos are great. They play essentially just like YouTube or any other modern video player. The difference is you have this scrolling transcript. So as you're watching the video, the transcript will scroll along. I'll just let this play for a second. I've muted the audio. But you can see here as it scrolls through, you can kind of match that. And you can jump through the transcript. So you can jump ahead in the video by clicking on the transcript, or you can jump in the video and it will automatically bring you to that part of the transcript. And the transcript's great because it allows you to search, you know, so maybe theming and thematic analysis is something that we've heard is good in literature review. So we can write in theme and we can see we've got 16 matches for the word theme in this transcript. So if we want to understand, well, what are themes, we can jump to that part of the video. What does she mean when she talks about looking for themes? So really helpful to have this transcript. And all of our content, including videos, can be cited. So if you want to cite this video or any other topics or content in our database, you simply hit the cite button. And we have a couple of ready-made formats, so things like APA, Harvard, MLA. And if you select one of those from the drop down, it reformulates your citation. You can simply copy and paste that and export it to a reference manager, depending. I mean, a lot of researchers use things like RefWorks or EndNote or Zotero. If you're using one of these reference managers, you can export it automatically by selecting it from the drop down and clicking open, or you can just copy the text to a clipboard. Maybe you're keeping everything in a Word document or OneNote or something on your Mac. Then you can just copy and paste it as text into your own documents. Now, another thing that you can do, you might be thinking, wow, there's so much content on this database. I'm kind of like this content, but I don't have time to look at it right now. So what can I do? How can I save it without downloading the citation? Well, what we've built into the platform is like a lists feature. So essentially, you can save any item to your lists within the platform. And whenever you visit Sage Research Methods, you will be able to save the item, and you can come back to it whenever you want to. Now, when you first arrive at Sage Research Methods, you'll go in through your library catalogue and you'll put in a username and password that essentially allows you to associate yourself with Stellenbosch University. And you will see your university's logo at the top right-hand side here. However, we've got like 45 people on the call today. There's no way for the platform to distinguish yet between you and another researcher at Stellenbosch University. So we have to create a profile, and a profile is, it's kind of like an account, you know. It allows you to personally identify yourself onto the platform. And once you've created a profile and logged in, then you'll be able to add an item to your lists. And then whenever you visit the platform, as long as you are logged into your profile, your lists will be available. So let me just very quickly show you how this works, and then I'm going to ask you guys to come into the platform and make your own profiles. So on an item, you can click onto list, and because I'm not logged into my profile, it's going to prompt me to log in or register. So I could simply hit that button. I can also just log in or create a profile from here at the top right. So click on profile. When you're going to create a profile, you'll click this green button at the bottom, create profile, and then just fill in a few fields. I'm just going to log in to my profile. So enter my details, click on login, and that will just take a second to process and log me in. It's maybe just taking a little bit longer because I'm obviously on the Teams call as well. And there you'll see I'm now logged into my profile. If I click on that link, you'll see I can access my reading lists, my saved searches, and I can log out. So now when I go to save this video, when I hit the list button, I can add it to an existing list, and you can see these are all of my previous lists that I've created as a trainer. And I can create a new list. So maybe let's just give this a name, and you might label it as like the topic. So you might like to save different lists for different topics or phases of your research. So maybe this one we could save as literature review. And then as you're working through your literature review, you can be saving books and project planner entries and videos to this list all about literature review. And later, when you come to do your data analysis, you can have a second list titled data analysis, and you can save all the resources you find on that topic to that list. I'm going to make my list private. I will explain what that means a little bit later on, but I'm just going to click create now. And in a second, once that's processed, it will give me a little window that says your item has been saved and your reading list has been created. You can see here. So we click OK. And now I can come to my profile and my reading lists. What's really nice is it orders your lists by the most recently modified first. So you can sort them by alphabetically by title, but I quite like having it by date because I can see my most recent ones here. And you'll see at the top that Stellenbosch Literature Review is saved here, and there's that video that we had added, which I can see just by clicking on the title of the list. So I can jump back to this video anytime I want, and it's just a really good way of organizing content, saving things that I find useful, but maybe I don't have time to read them right now. And there's that video that we were watching earlier. Now, you'll notice that this one is private, and I had that option when I created my list. Basically, you can make lists public, and what this means is that anybody who uses Sage research methods all around the world can access your lists. They can't change them, but they can view them. So most of the time, I recommend people to keep their lists private. It might be good, you could make a public list if you're perhaps a librarian or you're a professor and you teach on research methods modules and you feel like the list that you have created is more, it's going to be useful to other professors or other librarians or other students. But most of the time I would say to toggle your lists to private because it just means that then other people aren't able to view them, especially if you're still kind of creating a list in kind of draft mode and you're still just kind of finding items and you haven't yet watched them or read them, then maybe it's better to keep your lists private. You can always make them public by coming to your lists and clicking the Make Public button, and once that's selected you can automatically switch it to private by clicking on private. So it's very easy to switch between these whenever you want to. So I'm going to pause here. Let's take a few questions. I don't think anything's come into the chat, but I'm going to pause and see, does anyone have any questions before I get you onto the platform and creating your profile? Oh, that's lovely to hear. So someone said, all my peers have told me about Sage, but I never understood how to use it. I'm already wowed, been missing out. Thank you. You're so welcome. Really good to hear that. And I hope that this afternoon, maybe you'll be motivated to go and explore the platform in a bit more detail. Really glad to hear that you're wowed. All right. Well, while we're waiting, for a couple of questions to come in, let me just share a link in the chat. I'm going to share a link to your library catalogue with you. So this is where I'd like you to go. So we've just had a question. Some of the drop downs are locked. Yes. Basically, that goes back to my earlier point that the Sage research methods as a product is made up of a couple of different menu options. Think about it as a menu. So your library has bought access to some parts of the menu, but not others. And that's for different reasons. So for example, we have a particular collection of case studies that are all about medicine and health. And if a university decides that that isn't a particular content priority for their users, they're not going to buy that part of the menu when it comes to Sage research methods. So it's helpful to think about Sage research methods, the database, as this menu that your library has gone through and they've said, this looks good, this we don't need, this would be helpful, but not right now. You know, there's lots of different things that the library have to consider when they're buying a new database. So you are going to see locked content. And that is why I recommend when you run a search, you tick this button once you're looking at the search results, or content available to me. And what that will do is it will make sure that you only see results that your library has bought and has access to. Now, you'll still be able to see some options in these browse menus that have like a padlock icon next to them. It looks a little bit like that one. So if you see a padlock, that means that that item, that menu selection, is not available through your institution. So that gives you that kind of indication. But like I said, when you're using the search or you've browsed for content, just click this filter, content available to me, and it will remove any locked content. And I hope that answers that question. So I'm going to share this link with you in the chat. And here's our first activity that I'd like for you all to do. If I just come into my slides for a moment. I won't go full screen because I don't think we need it just for this. So visit that link that I've just shared in the chat. That is your library catalogue. That's Stellenbosch University. It's the database listings that your library have set up, and it's alphabetical. So if you go to S, scroll down until you see Sage Research Methods, and then you can open that. It will say something like launch or open full database, something like that. And then you'll have to put in your Stellenbosch University username and password. It might be that you'll authenticate automatically. It depends on whether you've saved your password in the past, anything like that. Each one of you will have a different experience. And then once you've got to Sage Research Methods, you can go into the database, and I want you to just go and create a profile for now. We're going to do a longer activity in about 15 minutes where you can go and start looking for some content. But for now, I'd just like to get you all logged on and have a profile created. So you can follow those steps at the top right of the screen. It says profile, and if you click that, then create profile. And once you're done, you can come back to Teams, and hopefully you can see the little raise hand icon that's just at the top of the screen. It's like a little emoji with a hand. And I can see someone has already done that, which is great, perhaps. Or maybe you have a question, Ulrika. I'm not sure. Feel free to type in the chat, or you can keep your hand up. So I'm going to leave you for 5 minutes. I think I'll stay here, obviously, I'll be here. So any questions, any problems, please just type them into the chat. I've got my eye on my second monitor over here, so I can guide you through the process of opening the database through your library catalogue or creating the profile. It may be that you created a Sage Research Methods profile in the past and you've forgotten your password. There is a forgot password button, so you can do that. Or you can register a new profile if you're happy to do that. You can use any email address, by the way. It does not have to be your Stellenbosch email address. You can use a personal Gmail, Hotmail, Yahoo, Outlook, whatever you prefer. It's totally your preference. And we do have librarians on hand. So if any of you are having issues with steps 1 and 2, accessing the library database and your university kind of database listings, we've got librarians on hand, so they'll be able to advise you there. And for those of you who, when you've finished and you come back to Teams, keep using the chat. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer those while we've got a couple of minutes of a break. I can see we've got a few hands going up, which is great. Thank you guys for creating your profiles. I hope it was an easy process. Great, thank you, Essian. That's excellent. we're getting there. So we've got 60 people in the meeting. We've got 10 profiles created, or 10 hands up, which is awesome. We've still got plenty of time, so no worries. I know if you're anything like me, you've got about 700 passwords to think about and getting logged in. Have you saved it to your device? It's a total nightmare. I feel that someone said earlier with the literature review, it's a challenge because we live in this world of so much information, and I feel like passwords is definitely one of those where we have too many. And it's become so difficult now, hasn't it? You can't just create something that's like a word with one letter in it. It's got to be so many characters. It's got to have capitals and numbers and special characters. It's a total minefield. Oh, no problem. Kanu, I'm going to share the link for the profile. No worries. Give me 1 second. See if I can get you that create profile direct link. Now, you might struggle. You should be able to create a profile on mobile. You might not be able to access the actual content of the database unless you have authenticated through your library's kind of username and password system, because the access to the books and videos, etc., that relies on you being logged in through your university. But let's see, I've sent you the link there, so that should take you straight to the profile creation page. And when we come and do the second activity later, we'll see how you go. So if you want to retrieve an old password, let me have a quick look.
Sorry, Rebecca,
Naomi.
Can I just interrupt? Sorry,
Yes.
I see someone is asking. There are several SAGE listings in the database list.
Oh, yeah.
It is the SAGE Research Methods Online, just to confirm that.
Yes, thank you.
SRMO. Sorry for the interruption.
No, thank you. That's great. Yes, so we have a couple of databases. We have journals, products as well, and then maybe other databases. So yeah, thank you, Naomi. That's great. How to retrieve an old password. So hopefully you can see my screen. When you click the profile button, before you've done anything, you can see this tiny blue font. It says forgot your login information. And if you click that, then you can enter an email address. Now, if you don't remember what email address you registered with, you might like to just create a brand new profile. But if you think you created one with a particular email address, you can type that in, submit, and you'll get an email. So you'll have to go into your inbox and see if you did get a reset link. But so just to show you that again, click on profile and that little blue text there, forgot your login information, that will help you to retrieve an old password. Great, so we'll give it maybe 1 more minute. Do pop your hand up using the raise hand feature once you've created one. Oh, I know a couple of people have mentioned in the chat, so that's fine. Or you can type a chat message if you can't see it. Yay, you've got it created. Well done. That's excellent. But yeah, just let me know once you've done that. And we'll kick off again at about 30. So if you want to go and grab a water or a quick cup of tea. Oh, that's an interesting one. I'm getting your connection is not private warning in my browser when using the link from the library database. I mean, I'm just looking at mine. Obviously, I haven't come in through your library database, but I do have a not secure warning. I think that's something to do with, basically, we do have security protocols in place. Obviously, we're a reputable publisher and it's a very secure database, but there's something about HTTP versus HTTPS. And I think even though we use HTTP, sometimes browsers pick that up as not having the S assigned to it. So I mean, it's a very safe and reputable database. There's no security issues to be concerned with, but that might be why you're getting that, and you might just want to override it Depending on your browser, you can usually click advanced settings and then click proceed anyway. But that might just help you get through there. Excellent. We've got a couple of other people creating their profiles. Great. We'll give it one more minute. We'll get to 30 and then we'll carry on. Woohoo! You're in. Excellent. And whenever you come back to the database, you can just use these details. You know, you've created your profile now, so in the future, you would just log in with your email address and the password that you chose, and you'd click login, and then you're going to be logged into the profile. So as you're moving around, looking at content, you can save that content into your lists, and it's really helpful to then be able to go and visit items that you saved earlier and things like that. Great. Okay, well, I think most people are done. Oh, someone spoke too soon. It's not allowing me to create a password. But what error message are you receiving? Is it saying anything? Is it giving you like an error message? I'm wondering if you might already have a profile with that. Keep saying old password. I wonder if you already have a profile registered, in which case I might recommend you click on this link, just the profile, and click on forgot your login information and put your email address in that you're trying to register with. Oh, you tried to delete that profile and it did. Okay. Can I give you my, I'm going to put my email address in the chat box. Let me just check that's right. If you have any issues with profile creation, you can pop me an email. I think there must be something where you have a profile registered and it's getting a bit confused as to what to do with you. So feel free, maybe later after the session, you can pop me an email. I'll be happy to help anybody kind of directly who's having issues with creating profiles. Okay, so hopefully for most of you, your profile's sorted. Don't worry if it's not, of course, we can kind of work on this later. You can go and create a profile whenever you want to. But I just want to carry on as we head into the last 30 minutes of the session. So we've had a look at some of the searching and the browsing, and hopefully you've got a good understanding of what Sage research methods can kind of offer. I now want to show you a couple of the tools that are available, because as well as all of this content, we've created some excellent tools that I think you guys are going to really enjoy. The first one is called Project Planner, and we've kind of already seen Project Planner when we searched for literature review. And we found a Project Planner entry that was kind of top 8 things to think about when doing an effective literature review. So you will see Project Planner entries in search results. So when you run a search, you will see different entries come up from Project Planner. But actually, Project Planner is a tool in its own right. And what happens when you click on Project Planner from the Research Tools menu is that you come to kind of the overview, and it's at the very beginning of the research stages, as it were. Now, what Project Planner is, as the name suggests, it is a kind of like a written guide that walks you every step of the way through your research project. And you'll see it's divided into these research stages on the left-hand side. So we go from everything from philosophy of research all the way through to writing up and dissemination. And what we can do is we can either jump into a particular section, or we can start from the beginning and work our way through in a logical process. So just before I show this, I'm just going to say anyone who's having issues creating a profile, I have shared my email address in the chat. I'm going to do that again. You can reach out to me. You can reach out to your librarians after the session. They might be able to help you with this. If you're getting an invalid email, I wonder if perhaps you've already got an account, and then you might want to try the forgot your details link in the creating in the profile box just here, just to see if you've already registered a profile. But if we have time at the end of the session, I'll be happy to stay online and help people who are having problems. But you've also got my email address there, so you can email me after the session too. So in terms of the project planner, as you can see, we can start with something like defining a topic. And what Project Planner does then, it's broken down into these kind of common questions. So when you're defining a research topic, some of the common questions are like, how can I decide what to study? How do I identify a good research topic? What practical things should I think about before I start my research? And each of these is like an expandable section that we can click on, and we can read through the different kind of topics and suggestions for what makes a good research topic. And the thing with Project Planner is it's designed to be a starting point. So it's designed not to give you all the answers and tell you everything you need to know, but definitely to get you thinking, to give you a good overview of the topic in the question that you have. And then what you might find is, for example, further search links, so you can go and read more about literature searching, read more about writing a research proposal, or search for resources about access, which is like access to your research participants, to your sample population, to literature, things like that. So it's really great for understanding kind of what you need to do this step of the research. And if we come down a little bit further, one topic that a couple of people mentioned today was ethical clearance. We have a whole section of Project Planner dedicated to research ethics. So here we can look at, what do I need to know about potential harm and informed consent? How can I gain ethical approval for my research? What do I need to know about informed consent and confidentiality? And with some of these entries in Project Planner, we have these great checklists. So this is a checklist on ethical data collection from human participants, or endorsement from the appropriate body. So have you prepared an appropriate form submission to the body that you need to work with? And you can tick and make sure that you've done everything that you need to do before you move on to the next stage of data collection. And all of these can be cited, they can be added to a list, they can be cited and downloaded, so you can interact with these Project Planner entries just like you can with all of the other content. Some people earlier mentioned about data analysis. That's a real challenge, especially if you don't have a statistical background. So you can read about different qualitative and quantitative data analysis techniques to start learning about different ways of reading your data. Some we even have videos. So this one is a nice example. You've got a 17-minute video there about this one was identifying change using quantitative data. And then you can do cross searches again. So this is a great way of finding more content within the platform. And you can keep working through, so you can move on to the next stage, or you can just jump in using the options on the left hand side. So this is Project Planner. Again, you can access that through this research tools menu at the top of the website, and then clicking on Project Planner. And in just 2 minutes, 3 minutes, you can come and take a look at this yourself, and I'll share the link with you as well, so you can quickly jump to Project Planner, because I do think this is an excellent starting point for every researcher who's using Sage research methods. The other research tool I'd like to tell you about, it's also under the tools menu, and that is the methods map. So I mentioned that at the beginning is this kind of visualization tool. Now, it can sometimes look a bit complex when you first arrive, but once you understand how it works, it's really, really helpful. So when you come to the methods map, we start in the center, which is research methods, right? The dawn of research methodology, the very beginning of the ecosystem. And what we have on the right-hand side are these narrower terms. So these are topics that we might want to start reading about or learning about or getting support with. So, you know, let's stick with research ethics because it's a topic we've talked about a little bit today. What we can do is click on research ethics, and that moves you. So now research ethics is the central part of the view of the map, and you get this short definition, and you can run a search on all content on research ethics. So all you would do is click that search button and it will run a search for research ethics. Or you can keep exploring in the map. You know, maybe you don't feel that you're ready to look at content yet. So you can explore some narrower terms related to research ethics. So maybe like, well, I've never heard of the Declaration of Helsinki. What is that? And when you click on the Declaration of Helsinki, it tells you that that is a set of principles relating to human subject research that was developed by the World Medical Association in 1964, and it's been revised on a number of occasions. And then again, you could go in and search for content there if you feel like it's relevant to your project. Or if you think, oh, well, actually, that's not really relevant to me because I'm not doing research related to human subjects, then all you need to do is come back to research ethics, like a map. We take a step back and we can pick another topic. So maybe something like informed consent or data ethics. You know, thinking about data management, ethical data management is a big question in research right now. So let's click on data ethics. And maybe we decide we want to read about data security. Like if I'm working with all of this data, how do I keep it secure? And then I might search for content on data security. So then it's basically just running a search. And again, I could click the content available to me button, make sure I'm only seeing the things that I can access. And then we can scroll down and see which of the items related to data security we can take a look at. Marie, I've seen your question. I'll come to that in just a moment. And one thing that's great about the methods map, it's excellent if you don't know what you're looking for. You know, I've shown you how to search and I've shown you how to browse, but if you're a bit unsure of what to do, the methods map is excellent because all you need to do is click and you just browse through these topics and you follow things that seem of interest to you. So it's really helpful in that respect, and you can always move backwards and forwards very, very easily. But the other thing you can do, let's say you've been working with your supervisor and they say, oh, I think this concept would be really interesting to you. And you write it down and then you're like, I have no idea what ANOVA is. What you can do is you can come to the methods map and you can search it. So make sure you use this search box in the methods map, not the main search bar up here. You can type ANOVA, you can see it's already listed. And when you click on ANOVA, you can come to the map and you can see it's a multivariate model, things like F ratios, mean scores, random factors. I think we're getting the sense that it's quite statistical. And if you're like, I don't even know what a multivariate model is, well, we can come back a step and then we can see it is indeed a type of quantitative data analysis. So then we can come back to what our supervisor recommended, and we could go and search for content on that particular topic. So it's really helpful if you hear or read of a concept and maybe you're not quite understanding what it is, come and type it into the methods map search and see if that helps you understand the concept. And somebody has just said, I use a similar mapping tool that has the ability to utilize citations and reference managements. Would like to know if export across Sage and Dossier is possible. That is really interesting. I don't actually know, but I'm going to save that website while you're doing your task, I'll have a look at it and I'll see. I don't think we offer kind of automatic importing and exporting, but what you might be able to do is download the citation as like a Word, and then you might be able to import it that way. So I'll have a little look while you're doing the activity and then I'll come back to you. Marie asked a question about one of the components. Is data visualization part of our subscription? So at the moment, no, it's not. Data visualization is actually quite new. We only launched it this year, so it's a new module. It's really great for learning how to visualize data and what good data visualization looks like, but it's not available through Stellenbosch University at the moment. So if you have any questions about that, then contacting your library would be the best next step. But yeah, you should see kind of a padlock on there, unless the library is running a trial. Sometimes they run trials and it will be unlocked for a short amount of time. Okay, so we're now going to move on to the second activity, which is a little bit longer. We're actually going to do it for about 10 minutes because we've run over a little bit. But what I'd like you to do, choose a method or a topic or a concept that you would like to learn a little bit more about. Go and spend some time exploring the database with things that you've seen today that you liked. Maybe you like that project planner. Maybe you want to start at the methods map. Maybe you want to take a look at some videos, and then see if you can find a couple of resources and save them to a list. Hopefully you've created your profile. You should still be logged in. So go and save 1 or 2 or 3 items to a list in your profile. So I'm going to give 10 minutes for this activity. I'm on the chat still, so if anyone's having any problems accessing, I'm going to share the links again, just so that people can access it. But yeah, you go ahead, 10 minutes, go and explore the platform, take a look through the different tools. I would really recommend Project Planner and the Methods Map, or use the search for something that you're interested in learning about. And if you haven't created a profile, that's okay. I mean, maybe you can just say open the items in a new tab, and once you've got a profile set up, then you'll be able to save them to your profile later. No problem, thank you. I do hope you enjoy exploring it. And let me share a link. I wanted to share a link to the project planner, just because I think that's quite a good place to start. And for those of you who are having profile problems, feel free to use the chat. I'll try and help you. If you explain what you're seeing, so what it's telling you when you're trying to create a profile, then that's going to be helpful to me, that I might be able to guide you through what's happening. And at about 55, I'll call you all back to the room, and maybe I'll ask you to write in the chat what you found and what your thoughts are about Sage research methods. You know, what you've taken away from it today, what resources were helpful, that kind of thing. I'm not sure that I've made literature searching easy, but hopefully I've given you some good resources that help you learn how to do it a bit more quickly. Yeah. There's lots of good stuff on literature searching and literature review in Sage research methods, which is great because, you know, researchers in every discipline have to do that. So, and it's such a key part of your research, right? I'm still here on the chat, so any questions or problems at all, feel free to type into the chat. I'm just checking out that Docker site that somebody shared earlier. Oh, Nwabisa, are you on a computer or are you on a mobile phone or like a tablet? When you click on my profile, do you see something that says profile, my lists, my searches? If you click on the profile link. If you see my lists, my searches log out, it means you're logged in. Gives an option of login, not create. Can you, so within the little pop-up window that appears, can you keep your mouse in there and scroll down? So not scrolling down on the main window, but scrolling down within the little profile creation box. It might be that the create button is a little bit lower and you kind of have to scroll within that pop-up window. Jill, I've seen your question. I'm just going to see what Nobisa comes back with and then I'll answer your question. It's an easy one. I like those questions. That's very strange. Nobisa, could you take a screen grab for me and you can share it in the chat? If you could just use your snipping tool or something and show me what you see, that would be really helpful. And I'm going to just retype my email address. If you take this, I'll be happy to work with you this afternoon and see if we can figure out what's going on. It's hard not being able to see it. But feel free to send it through the chat as well. You should be able to kind of just copy and paste it once you take a snip or a screenshot. Just copy and paste it into the chat and it should send. Jill, are you able to create a profile without having access through the university's library? Yeah, in fact, you can. So the profile kind of works like it's a very simple technological feature, right? You could be unauthenticated, not logged in, and you would be able to visit the website and create a profile. However, the profile is kind of useless because until you are logged in through the university's network, because it's the university network connection that gives you access to all of the content, and all you can really do through the profile is to save content. So I mean, you could save it, but until you get logged onto the university network, you're not going to be able to read the full textbooks or watch the videos or view the project planner entries. So you can do it, but until you're authenticated on through the university's network, there won't be much that you can do. I hope that answers your question. Great, Jill. Happy to hear that. Ulrika, so struggling to find information on how to define a construct. There is lots on construct validity, but I want to go back one step further. Interesting. If you don't mind, let me come and take a look. I mean, sometimes it depends on obviously what your search terms are. Sometimes we're not going to have as much stuff. I don't actually know much about construct validity, so this isn't an area where I would be able to help quite so much. But you see there, I ran a search by putting it in exclamation marks, like quotation marks, and what that does is it makes sure I'm searching the whole phrase. And I guess we've got a couple of entries here. We've got an encyclopedia entry. We've got this book chapter. What is construct validity? We've got a couple of options. So I wonder if could you search that and put it into quotation marks and see if you get a few more results that way. Ulrika. I think that might be a good way of doing it. At least you might get a little bit more. There seems to be some good stuff, and most of this is from Core, which is the subscription that you have. So I hope that this stuff will be quite helpful once you can find it. Let me know how you get on. Managed to create a reading list. Thank you. This is so helpful. Had some issues with my proposal, but now this will be useful. Great. Yeah, so research proposal writing. We should have some good resources there. My theory for my thesis is ecofeminism. That's really interesting. Now, Bolali, you're searching for perhaps ecofeminism, which is the topic, and we want to be thinking about the methodology. So like, what methods are you going to be using to research ecofeminism, if I've understood your project correctly? If ecofeminism is the topic, how are you proposing to research that? Are you going to use surveys, focus groups? Are you going to do like quantitative data analysis? These are the kinds of things that you would search for in SAGE research methods. You're not going to find lots of content on ecofeminism because the database is designed to help you with the design of your research project, not with the topic of your research project. I hope that kind of distinguishes there. Yeah, so Fisher, sorry, I don't think that's your first name, but it's how it's coming up on the display. We're actually a different Sage. So Sage is the accounting software and we are a different company, but we get confused all the time. It's no big deal. No blonde moment, Bahali. I have to say this to everybody in a training session about this database. It's a common misunderstanding, so don't worry. Great, Ulrika. Okay, Ulrika, I understand. So I don't need information on construct validity. I want to know what a construct is and how to define it. Okay, so I mean, that's an interesting one because I guess if we search for, I'm just wondering if we search for construct validity, I'm just going to see if I can, do you know what might be good? Let's go to the methods map and let's search and see if anything comes up here just for construct, but I don't think it does really, does it? Like I say, because I don't know much about constructs either, I'm a bit at a loss of how to help you, but you know, take my email address, I've shared it on the chat, so anything that if you want to get in touch with me more personally and I can try and help you, perhaps I might be able to, but maybe just needs a bit more time to explore. Okay, well, thank you all so much. I'm going to pause and see if anybody has any questions. That was the end of the session. So thank you all so much for your efforts and coming along to the session today. I hope it's been really helpful. But does anyone have any questions I can help with or answer? No worries if you've got the next meeting, that's absolutely fine. I'm just going to share a quick survey in the chat here. So it would be great if you guys could complete the survey just to give us a bit of feedback on the training session today. And I will just share my email address one last time. Please feel free to take it down. And yeah, feel free to contact me. Go and check out the database, do explore it. I hope it will help you guys in your research projects, and thank you so much for coming along. So if you want to remove a list, you can delete an item by going into your lists. Let me show you very quickly if people are still here. It depends whether you want to delete an item or whether you want to delete a list. If you want to delete a whole list, yeah, the librarians are recording the session, so I guess they'll be sharing the recordings with you after. So you can delete a list here by clicking the main delete button, and that will delete the whole list. If you want to delete an item from a list, then you expand the list and you click remove to remove that individual item from the list while still maintaining the list itself. I hope that answered your question, Essian. Thank you, everyone. I'm still here, so if anyone has any questions, but yes, Naomi, I'll let you close up.
Rebecca, someone has said here, thank you for your energized presentation. And I would like to concur, this was wonderful. Thank you very much. You really know the topic, you know your product. And thank you for being so patient with all the questions and answering them. That's wonderful. Thank you very much.
Oh, you're so welcome. And thank you for having me along. It's been a great session and lovely to meet all of you.
Thank you very much. And good luck with the weather in England, and hope your summer comes soon.
Thank you. Thank you. And same to you. I hope you get a bit more sunshine soon as well. And thank you all so much. It was great to meet you, and hopefully I'll see you all again at future sessions.
Thank you very much. Keep well.
Thank you, you too. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.